Hey Bagmaker, I'm Sarah Lawson from Soul Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Sewcial Sunday, my weekly sewing chat. Hey everyone, happy Sunday. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. I'm really excited. We recorded an interview earlier this week, so we're going to be airing that for the first time on the show tonight. So welcome to Nancy from Indiana. I see Danny's filtering through some of the other comments. Tracy's watching from Texas. And also Carla from Connecticut. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Everything that I'm scheduled to talk about tonight, I've linked to in the description. So if you're interested in finding out more about, I'm going to mention a couple recipes that I made today. Our interview subject is going to be talking about a couple of fabrics. I've linked to those in the description. So go ahead and you can click on that either during or after the show and find those links there. So just a note that I wanted to mention, we've been getting a lot of requests lately for our zipper pulls to be sold in different packs, either smaller amounts or sort of variety packs. And we kind of put our heads together, and while we can't offer a variety pack, we just don't have the space right now to have different additional packs for all of the zipper pulls with sort of a selection of the different colors in the same pack. But we did decide to offer smaller pack sizes than our 10 packs, which we had already. So I went ahead the other day and offered 5-pack options for all of the zipper pulls. So you can find those now on the website in case the 10 packs were holding you back just because you had no need for 10 of the same design and the same color. You can now find the 10-pack options for our zipper pulls on the website. And we do have a special section in our shop for zipper pulls, so you can view all of the zipper pulls if you prefer. And we also have zipper tape to go along with that. We sell number 3 pulls and tape and number 5 pulls and tape as well. So Violet and I find that I find cooking more enjoyable if it's just spur of the moment. So Violet asked if we could make a treat or dessert earlier today. So we made apple cider caramels. Danny's going to put the picture up on the camera. This is from the recipe website, not my picture. But the apple cider caramels have a special ingredient, and which is boiled apple cider, which I bought previously from the King Arthur Flour website, but they turned out great. They taste really good. The apple is kind of almost an aftertaste. Obviously, it tastes like caramel because it is, but it's a really unique flavor, and I thought they tasted delicious. And we also I made this recipe, I think for Thanksgiving last year, but it's called cauliflower, potato, and white bean soup. Again, the photo that Danny's going to put up on the screen is from the recipes website. While this is a slow cooker recipe, I did make it on the stovetop, and I just cooked it on medium until all the vegetables were tender. So it's a really creamy recipe. If you like cream of potato soup, I think you'll like this one, and I like the addition of the beans for some protein. Lisa says, love the new zipper pulls. Thank you so much, Lisa. And Carol says, yum, caramel. Yeah, caramels we went to a craft mart a couple weeks ago, and we bought a bunch of caramels of various flavors, and not a bad flavor in the bunch as far as caramels go. So our interview tonight is quite a lengthy interview, so we're going to get right to it. Before we show the recording, I just wanted Danny to put one photo up on the screen. My guest tonight is Shenova, and this is a Marlin backpack that Shenova made with waterproof canvas. So that's our topic for tonight. I had a lot of requests this year to have some sort of discussion about waterproof canvas and water resistant canvas, and I learned a ton from Shenova during this interview, not only about those fabric substrates, but about a bunch of other things. So I hope you enjoy this interview too, and Danny, take it away. Hey everyone, today I have a special guest with me on the show. Shanova is joining me to talk about waterproof canvas, which I know many of you have so many questions about. So thank you so much for joining me today, Shanova, on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, so let's jump right into it because a few weeks ago in the So Sweetness Facebook group, I asked if anyone had questions about waterproof canvas, and there were tons of questions. So I've compiled all of the questions, and we're just going to walk through them one at a time. So the first main question is, what is the difference between waterproof canvas and water resistant canvas?
That's a good question, and there is a difference. Waterproof canvas is repels water. The water beads on top of it, and you can literally leave standing water on it, and it will not seep through.
Okay.
Water resistant canvas, it resists water as long as it possibly can, but it can start pulling and seeping through the layers of the fabric.
Oh, okay.
Water resistant canvas is actually thinner than waterproof canvas as well.
Do you use one more than the other just in your personal sewing?
When I'm using my Bernina domestic machine, I use the resistant one, water resistant, because it's thinner and it's a little bit more pliable to work with. And it comes in just a lot of different colors, and a lot of custom groups are now coming out with prints like backstitch, and it's water resistant. And you're like, yay! It's so, I mean, as long as the water's not sitting directly on it the whole time, you're going to be fine. But if you're in a situation where it's raining nonstop, there is a chance that it can seep through to the inside of the bag.
Okay, and another question I just thought of is the nature of it being either waterproof or water resistant. For you personally, in the bags that you're making for either yourself or your customers, do you find that that's a huge selling point to the fabric? Like, do you really need your fabrics to be either waterproof or water resistant, or is that just sort of a byproduct and there's other features that you like about it and it doesn't necessarily need to be waterproof? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Personally, I've always been a big fan of doing just like a woven interface onto a canvas or whatnot. But when I started selling to people, one of the main features, like if I'm making a backpack for someone to put their laptop in, they love the fact that the lining is waterproof, because
Okay,
there's a chance if they're walking somewhere, nothing's going to hit their electronics.
I see.
So that's a huge feature. Water resistance, I do offer it. I do explain to them that they cannot have it just under water for a long period of time. And if it's a color that they like or a print, because again, a lot of custom fabric shops are making custom prints on water resistant,
Mhm.
then they'll have that choice. But it is a huge selling feature. I myself, I use the little bag that looks like a clam.
Oh, the Suffolk coin purse, that one?
Yes, I use that in my personal bag, and I lined it with waterproof canvas because lipstick spills out of it. All I have to do is take a baby
Okay.
wipe and wipe it right out.
Okay. And another follow-up question to that, out of your customers that have a definite choice, do more of them seem to choose the waterproof canvas or the water-resistant canvas?
The waterproof canvas.
Okay.
It's just most of the people that, for me, most of the people that buy from me are buying something for either like the Nintendo Switch or a laptop or whatever. It's usually some kind of electronics, and they want to make sure that nothing can be penetrated into
Okay.
their
That makes
bags.
total sense. Is there a difference between the waterproof canvas, the water-resistant canvas, and then other substrates like Oxford or the PUL that people commonly, or my kids, we use cloth diapers for them, so I'm
Yeah.
familiar with the PUL for that. But is there a difference between those four, and is one also perhaps better environmentally?
That the environmentally, it's kind of hard because when I spoke to someone that a manufacturer about water resistant canvas, because it's made with polyurethane and plastics,
Okay.
sometimes they're able to use recyclable plastics to help with our carbon footprint, because we in the fabric industry know that we're one of the biggest consumer of, unfortunately, waste. I haven't. I've been using Pool recently, and it kind of reminds me of water resistance because you're familiar. It's like shiny on the back and on
Right.
the side. That's super soft. You can use it, but you can't iron it because there's such a lot of plastic on the back. There are other. I got this water resistant waterproof canvas. You could see it has like a cottony feel on it. This
Yeah.
side you can iron. This side is plastic, but not like the pool. You can see the pool's kind of shiny compared to
Mm-hmm.
it. Kind of reminds me of interfacing. You know how that the Shape Flex 101 is super shiny where the glue is?
Right, right.
That's so. I think the Oxford, you can iron it on the back, not the front, because the plastic lay is on the front of the back, on the
Okay.
front of the actual material. I actually really like Oxford, and whenever I have friends in the UK, I always have them check their shops to see if they have any. It's one of my favorite because it's easy to work with. The holes don't punch through where you see them, and it's a very
Okay.
forgiving fabric.
Okay. So the weave is just kind of different on the woven
Yes,
looking side. Okay.
yes, it's not as tight. I think the waterproof canvases weave and weft is so tight in the front. That's why it has like zero stretch.
Okay. Interesting. Are there any applications in which you should not use either waterproof canvas or water resistant canvas?
I would say if you're trying to make reusable snack bags, I've actually seen this going around where people are like, "Oh, I used waterproof canvas in the inside," and you're like, "Oh, that may not be food compliant," and
Okay.
don't do it. Like there's a certain pool that you can use for diapers. There's a certain pool that you can use for making a pouch into a snack bag that's
Okay.
food resistant. So that I mean that's food compliant, and they have all the accreditations for them. I can
Okay.
definitely. I forgot to give you that link for that as well.
Oh, okay. Sure. We'll
I
add it in the comments when everyone's watching this recording. Definitely.
Yes, because a lot of your bags, a lot of your smaller pouches, I use the pull, and my husband takes the snacks to work and uses it, and then you can rinse it out, or you can throw it in the wash machine and like hang dry it.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting.
Try, yeah, trying to save the environment, little steps as we can.
Yeah, definitely. Do you like to pair certain other fabrics with, going forward, I'll just mention waterproof canvas just so I don't have to keep saying like both, both of the names in full, but um, do you find other fabrics pair well with them? And are on the flip side, are there other fabrics that don't pair well? Like, for instance, quilting cotton. Do you feel that that is a good match for waterproof canvas?
Yes, I actually feel like um, I use I used your chickadee where I made a all cloth one, but in the inside it was waterproof canvas so that when it was made for a baby bag, so if any, baby accident stuff happens inside the bag, they can just wipe it up. Where I think waterproof canvas is pretty versatile. It can go with cotton, vinyl. Me personally, I hate pairing it with cork, but sometimes when I see it, it's absolutely gorgeous. It just, uh, for me, in my personal preference, like cork is such a natural material that I automatically want to pair it with only cotton. That's
Okay.
just me. You can definitely do it. I use waterproof canvas on the exteriors and interiors. One of the bags that I tested for you, actually with the Alexander McQueen alien lady, and it was all
Oh, right.
snake print. That was waterproof canvas.
Oh, interesting. So waterproof canvas, when you're talking about the cork and the natural substrates, is it a polyester substrate?
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
I don't I don't know why that. And somebody might be sitting down and be like, "No, it works." And just for me, it just cork is a beautiful and kind of expensive thing.
Mhm.
And waterproof canvas you can get sometimes at Hobby Lobbies or Joann's for like 7.99. And I don't know. Those two textures don't really work for me.
Okay. I get it.
It's a personal preference.
Yeah, I totally get it. I totally get it. So you were talking a second ago about um, say, for instance, the inside of the chickadee backpack. You used it. Do you like using it for linings better than for exteriors? Do you think it can go for both? at the same time,
Yes,
or do you just choose one or the other?
I have done it. I use both at the same time. It
Okay.
helps tremendously on stabilizers and interfacing because the fabric has like its own structure. Like
Okay.
I truly do like using both. I like that it's easy to clean and it's relatively inexpensive and you can get really great results. I I'm still a huge fan of having cotton because there's so much variety, but now it seems like a lot of distributors are making really beautiful waterproof canvas prints that are absolutely stunning. You can use it for the inside and out.
So you mentioned wiping it clean. Is that the main way that you would clean up spills?
Well, most of the time, I sometimes I throw it in the wash machine and then let it hang dry.
Okay.
But if it's like just a little small area, you can use like dish soap and a little bit of vinegar and
Oh,
clean it.
really?
Yes, most of the waterproof canvases, where they come from, are from boating manufacturers, and they have each
Oh,
manufacturer has like how to clean it, but how they clean up waterproof canvases on boat is dish soap and a little bit of vinegar.
interest.
So it
That's
disinfects it.
fascinating.
Yeah, it's my that's another suggestion too. If you live in an area that had like sells boats and you see boats,
Mhm.
go to like a sell right or and they have like different weights of waterproof canvas, different colors because no everyone that has boats don't want just a plain color. They want
Mhm.
something that's uniquely theirs and they will educate you on how to clean it, what kind of needle to use, what kind of like they have everything there. It's really I visited one boatyard in Baltimore and I learned so much about waterproof canvas there.
Oh my gosh, that's really cool. I love
I
that
was really
idea.
excited. They have those boating places they sometimes have on, they have where it's the storefront, and if they have anything that's less than a yard, like three-fourths of a yard, you can get a tremendous discount for going in there and purchasing it because they're not going to use it on anything. They can't, it's not enough to cover a seat, so you
Right.
can reap the benefits.
Oh, that's a really great tip. Thank you so much.
You're
Um,
welcome.
another question that people had about it was if it's easy to turn or hard to turn, like right side out, and also what is the smallest item that you would suggest making with it?
Okay. I feel like depending on how your opening is and your turn is the same as it, like if you were using vinyl or cork. It's the opening. Some people want to do that smaller opening and then wind up ripping stitches.
Hmm.
This is a little bit more forgiving than cork and vinyl because you can just pull it out and then the holes look like they're gone. Uh,
Okay.
the smallest item, I've made key fobs with them as thank you gifts. I've made,
Oh,
and again, I made the little clementine pouches
right,
like
right.
that. That's my thank you gifts to people for purchasing with me. That's like my thank you to them. I'll make it in the same
Oh,
fabric, and the inside would be waterproof canvas, and people love it. I seen my bag at a convention, and the little boy I made it out of Lego fabric had all his Legos in there. And the mom was like, "I appreciate you because he eats stuff. It's all sticky. He sticks his hand in there, and I can just use a baby wipe and clean it at the end of the day."
oh, that's really interesting. So, side note on the little gifts, when people order something from you, do they know ahead of time that they're getting a little gift, or is it just a complete surprise?
It's a complete surprise. I mean, because you're paid this money for it, you're excited to get it, and then
Hmm.
it's just like a pop of something. And you have so many patterns that are one, either free, or two, that are like little bitty that make people so happy. If people go on my Etsy, they'll say, "Oh, I got my bag, but oh my
Oh,
gosh, the gift was so amazing. The extra gift, thank you." It's 9 out of 10 time it's one of your patterns.
oh,
It's
wow.
always one of your patterns because they're so you break things down in like very little steps, and that's why you're one of my favorite designers.
Thank
Is
you.
like you could it's like exact in a few steps, and then you're like done with like a masterpiece, and you're like, this is amazing.
Well, thank
But yeah,
you.
I think yeah, if anyone is selling anything and you're selling something to someone that is new, um, the clementine pouch, the I mean not the clementine,
The Suffolk?
the dumpling.
Oh, the dumpling. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the dumpling is like my favorite thing to give people as a gift that matches their bag, and it's fun to make, fast to make.
Are you
It doesn't.
the gifts, are you kind of building that into your selling price of the main item? Or is that just
Mhm. Just a gift. And normally, I
okay?
think it's what happens is I don't know if you have this. Like, do you have a scrap bin?
Mm-hmm.
Like where it's just like scraps that are like smaller than a fat half, but you don't want to
Yeah.
get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I will go through my scrap bin. If someone that
Okay.
say orders Minecraft, I'll go through and either find if I have extra Minecraft scraps and or if I have something that's in the same color scheme as the bag, and then I'm using my scraps, not throwing them away, and I'm creating something new for someone else.
I love that idea because you're right. When you're making a bag, I'm generally having my scraps are pretty good size, and for a pouch, it's kind of a perfect match for.
Perfect. And like people really like your dumpling every year when I go to do a Christmas festival or a holiday mark. I have like either 10 to 20, they sell out. And every year, no kidding you, one of the retailing like like Remax, like people that sell houses, they'll be like, "Oh, we
Oh,
want to order 40 so that we can give one to all of our people during the holidays." I'm like, so it's those little things that might make a bigger company see, and they're looking for holiday gifts to give to everyone.
okay.
So, and last year I actually did like 40 blue waterproof canvas and 40 purple so that the company was able to give them out to everyone, and they filled them with candy and gift cards, and they
Oh,
were giving them to
cool.
people. But yeah, it was a huge sell for me and a fast project to make.
That's awesome. Oh gosh, I love that so much. All right. Another back to waterproof canvas. Another question about that. How do you differentiate between the right side and the wrong side of the fabric?
The right side actually looks like a cotton. You could feel it's softer. The back, always think of it as interfacing. It's super shiny.
Okay.
It's it's really slick. This is the back you do not want to iron at all. It will destroy your iron. You're gonna have to try to do that dry cleaning method, the dry cleaning sheet methods, and it's not fun.
Yeah, so speaking about the iron, I'm assuming you're only ironing on the cotton side, the cotton looking
Yes,
side. Okay.
only.
If you need to iron on the other side, are you just finger pressing or using
Yeah,
maybe
finger
a seam
pressing is
roller?
yes. Finger
Okay.
pressing and steamroller is your not your best. The steamroller is your best friend. And I'm going to do a brief tutorial or what I do with waterproof canvas and the different kind of canvases they have out there, if I can iron it or if I can't. So what I'm going to do is show you right here. I have a I want to say it's a denier lightweight 400 weight waterproof canvas. I have a really pretty soft waterproof water resistant canvas but has more of a pull plastic fill in the back. I have a water resistant canvas that's soft in the front and kind of textured in the back and doesn't feel as plastic. That's not even a word. It doesn't feel like plastic. I have a pull which is unbelievably soft in the front but feels like any kind of zip up bag that you could possibly think of, and just the waterproof canvas I usually get from Fabric Wholesale Direct, which has that nice weft and warp filling of cotton in the front, but you could definitely feel the back feels kind of like Shea Flux 101 glue. So when I have these particular kind of materials and it like if I'm zipping up a pocket and they're asking, hey, sew it out, iron it out. I can iron the front of this at a cotton setting, but I need to be fast. This particular material, you see how it was like rigid before? It flops because it doesn't want to be ironed because there is plastic in it. Be careful not to iron on the side that kind of feels like interface because it can stick to your iron, and that would be unfortunate. See, it does iron. It's just not as good as, um, 100% cotton. But it does iron, as you can see. And why it's soft, it's way more moldable than if it wasn't. On canvases like this where it's plastic in the back, I don't even touch my iron with it, but you can touch the front with it and it should work just fine. So the front works great. And as you can see, because this has more a plastic backing, the plastic is sticking to itself. So for these ones, I usually just use a seam roller. I usually have one at my desk, and I use a seam roller and roll out the seams instead of an iron, because the plastic is sticking to itself. If once I iron it, it just automatically, the reason why it's not moving is because it's sticking to itself. Same with pull. I'm going to barely touch this. You can barely touch the front just to get out wrinkles, but this has a very plasticky surface too. And if you are going to, let's say, do this, just like, oh, I want to do a crease, or it's going to stick to itself because it's plastic. So you need to be very cognizant and aware of your iron, and if it's going to be ruined. This is back stitches, water resistance. I like this one because this one has a lot of structure. It's one of my favorites. It doesn't stick to itself. It kind of acts just like waterproof canvas, except I can iron a little bit on the back because it doesn't feel like plastic. It has a rougher texture, but you can tell when you iron if there is a smell like it's not supposed to be ironed on the back. And be aware of that, because I think sometimes as us as sewists, we forget that when we're burning things or when we're folding things, if there's a smell, it may not be the best for us. So do it in a well ventilated area and you should be fine. But yes, the water resistance to me gives a little bit better, crisper look, and it's easier to iron. So here's the denier 400 weight. And I have just on cotton setting. I have no steam yet because I didn't fill the reservoir up with distilled water. But you get a nice crisp look. It's really pliable at this time because it's warm. I tell a lot of people when they're working waterproof canvas and they feel like their bag is too stiff to hit it with some steam, hover over it, because when denier or waterproof canvas gets warm, it gets nice and pliable and it's easier to work with. So I just wanted to show you a couple difference. You got your denier lining, 400 weight, your water resistant canvas, your pull, a different version of a water resistant canvas, and waterproof canvas. Waterproof canvas, you're going to see that line permanent. It's really, really, it's one of my favorite fabrics to work with because it does kind of act like cotton in the front. However, the back is plastic. Do not do it, or you're going to be like, what are things I can do to remove plastic from my iron? So that is it. And I just wanted to say thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this brief tutorial.
After birthing, because you were talking previously about, making sure the opening is big enough for turning, do you find when the bag has been finished and turned right side out, are there ever any issues with creasing of the fabric? Like the
I
creased
never
look?
have I never have an issue with creasing. The only time it creases is if it remains folded the whole time before you started making your bag. And
Okay.
when that happens, like when I'm prepping, I can just run the iron on cotton over the woven spot and all the creases
Okay.
come out. If
Okay.
I do get a crease after birth, I think I've only experienced that once or twice. I heat up my ironing board with
Yes.
put steam and then
Mm-hmm.
move the iron and place the bag on it, and it helps
Okay.
remove all the creases.
And do you have any tips for getting sharp folds or seams, whether it's maybe making a slip pocket and you need that top of the pocket to be nice and crisp, or in the finished bag? Do you have any pressing tips for that either?
What I normally do is when I have a slip pocket, I like to pink all the way around except the part we're going to turn. And then
Okay.
I go in with my pinking shears and like cut it as a V. right before that point, and the less bulk you have in that area that's going to be pointing, the easier it is for you. And before I turn, I use a seam roller on the flat part that we're going to tuck in, and it
Okay.
comes out perfect every time. You can't even notice
Oh, interesting.
um, you can't even notice that you left an opening. If you press it towards the cotton woven side with this roller, it
Okay.
automatically wants to turn into itself when we turn it right sides out.
Oh, that's interesting as well. Um, does it ever, either waterproof canvas or water resistant, do either of them ever cause any issues with the sewing machine, like extra residue in the machine, any difficulty with the needle going in and out, anything like that?
As long as you're not using double-sided tape on every single part, it depends on your machine. It doesn't
Okay.
gum up your needles. Because water resistant and waterproof canvas is a non-fraying, you actually get less
Mm,
dust going into your machine because it doesn't fray like cotton does, where
I
there's
see.
particles going into your machine. Um, and stitching. I have a lot of machines, and the two domestic machines I use a lot are Rocketeer and a Bernina 1008. The Bernina has perfect stitches like when I use it, but when I use the Rocketeer, the stitches are perfect, but they kind of go a little bit towards the right. They're not fully straight. I have
Okay.
no idea. I've changed needles, and then I like ask some other people. They're like, yeah, when I'm sewing even on like on my industrials, the stitches don't go straight, and it could be the weave and the weft because it's really tight.
Okay.
There's no structure. There's like no give, and it kind of goes. And it's not something noticeable. I think it's just something that you catch up. We notice now because we've been sewing longer now.
Right.
But yes, on my Rocketeer, it goes like slightly to the right. It's still 100% straight line,
Okay.
but it's just not. I just noticed it goes slightly to the right,
I think I know
but
what you
it
mean
doesn't.
because my machine does that once in a while, probably when I need to have it maintenance. But it sounds like that little stitch variance in the stitches doesn't cause any issue with the finished bag in the seams, the strength of the seams, nothing like that. Okay.
No, it's just depending on the person and what can what we all have our things that we're like aggravated, like, no, this is not gonna, mine's just top stitching. So
Okay.
I don't know, I noticed that only with that, I even on my industrial that's similar to the Juki 2200, I
Mhm.
have a 5550, and it's a factory Juki that they usually use for straight stitching for garments. I
Okay.
changed out the feed dogs to be the feed dogs that are on the 2200 QVP
Hmm.
mini, and the stitches are perfect on that. Like they're all
Okay.
straight. It's only with the Rocketeer that
Okay.
there's a slight difference.
Oh, interesting. Speaking of top stitching, is there a certain needle and thread that you use when you're working with the waterproofs, the waterproof canvas and the water resistant?
It depends on what I'm usually making, but if I know it's going to be like a slip pocket onto a main pattern piece, I usually use a 9014 organ needle.
Okay.
I hear people saying microtex. I just use a regular
Okay.
9014, and I use Tex 40 weight, and I'm usually using a polyester
Okay.
thread for that because it's a polyester. There's polyurethane in there. Does
Right.
that, like when I make cork bags, I usually use cotton.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know because it's natural.
I
So
understand.
you get it. Okay. I use Saba thread from Waywack. It's
Okay.
fairly inexpensive, and they have 40 weight threads, polyester, or you could try not nylon. I haven't used nylon yet. I use just polyester thread,
Okay.
like a Gutermann, or I fell in love with the Saba thread because it's like relatively inexpensive and has every color underneath the sun.
Okay. Interesting. I'll have to
It's
check
like
that out.
it'll be like Orifil's little brother or sister.
Okay.
You're gonna be like, there's 50 different shades of red. It's
Oh, wow.
it's
That's a
yeah,
lot.
it's a lot, and it's kind of reminds me of Orifil. That's why I like it because you can find that
Right.
exact color to whatever you're
Interesting.
trying to quilt.
Or maybe I shouldn't look into it because I just have so much Aurifil thread. Like, I don't need to start like a separate thread stash of.
I know. Well, that actually happened to me with connecting thread. I used to get my cotton thread through them, and then they started a whole line of polyester, and I was like, why are you doing this to me?
Oh, that's so
Why?
funny.
And I have no, and you could see that I like thread right
Yes.
behind me. And that's not the only areas in my workroom. I have thread everywhere.
On every wall,
Yeah.
basically, all four walls
Yeah.
thread.
All, yeah, all four walls my husband had to put, and he's like, there's so much, you have so many threads, but I'm like, it has to match. I'm really, I'm really big on matching. Don't get me wrong, I love contrast stitching, but like when in doubt, matching threads, no one
Right.
will see any mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. So what kind of interfacing are you using for either exterior or lining when you're using the waterproofs, the canvas and the water resistant?
This is the great thing about water resistant or waterproof. For whatever the reason may be, it adheres to everything fast and quickly, whether it's thermolam or
Oh, okay.
I don't ever use a shade flex on it because it that's the purpose of it, is that it's supposed to be taking away the shade flex. But if I'm using it for an exterior, I've
Hmm.
used thermolam, Decovil light, Decovil heavy, um, bouncy firm. I've put fleeced. I used everything. I recently found out someone was telling me to put fleece in your lining, and I just was like mind blown when I tried it recently. I didn't versus putting it on the exterior. I didn't know that was a thing until like last week, and put it thermolam onto my waterproof canvas, and it stuck faster than it did the cotton, and it didn't move at all. Normally, I let my interfacing cool for 30 minutes
Hmm.
before I do anything to let it cure. And like within 15 minutes, I couldn't lift any edges. It was already
Okay.
cool. And I don't know if that because of the polyester, it cools down faster maybe than
Hmm.
cotton because cotton retains heat. So that's my theory. I could be absolutely incorrect though.
So for if you're using it, the interfacing on the exterior, are you generally using the interfacing as called for in the pattern, or are you taking what I like to call like sort of a step down? So, for instance, a step down for foam interfacing, I would consider it to be maybe thermolam or fleece. Is that the case when you're using the waterproof canvas for the outside of the bag,
No,
or
I follow the instructions and what the person wants, the
okay,
designer wants me to use.
okay,
Um, Unless I'm making the bag a second or third time and I'm like, no, I'm gonna try it with this, or the person
okay,
requesting a softer bag or a more firm. But no, I use exactly I make it because most pattern designer, if you're using cotton, they want you to use a Shape Flex 101.
mm-hmm.
So in my head, when I'm using a waterproof canvas or water resistant canvas, it is the cotton and the Shape Flex 101. So I just now have to put whatever stabilizer they want on it.
Okay. So
So
for
they want
the
me to
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, like just like if you want me to base foam, now I can base foam because it's that the waterproof canvas and water resistant canvas is basically trying to eliminate the Shea Flex 101. That's the way I
Okay.
look at it.
Okay, so then if you're using it for the lining, you're skipping any interfacing. You're just going with either the waterproof canvas or the water resistant. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you, if you're fusing it to an interfacing, do you find ever any crinkling? Like when the bag's done, do you see any
No,
noticeable changes? Okay.
and I honestly think it's because most of the time I notice if I have crinkling on a cotton, 9 out of 10 times I immediately ironed it and then start sewing it and didn't allow the interface to cool
I
and
see.
to adhere to the thing. But because it it adheres so fast and it cools down so fast, I have less crinkling and wrinkling than I would like say a canvas bag.
Oh, interesting. And I kind of, another sidebar, because I'm learning a lot from this interview. Is that your usual practice, letting any interfacing cool after it's been fused for 30 minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
especially Decoville Light. And most people, when I read someone saying, "Why is my bad wrinkling?" I use Decoville Light or heavy.
Hmm.
I'm like, did they let it cure? Because it's set, the manufacturer's directions on there literally say, I believe, 30 minutes to 3 hours. So no, what I do is I'll interface at night, let it cool on a flat surface, like
Mm.
at my kitchen table or on my cutting table. And then when I start sewing the next day, everything is adhered and that's everything's cooled down.
Oh, I guess I
It's
never
kind of
thought of that. Yeah.
think of it about like your nail polish. You go to the nail salon, they paint your nails,
Hmm.
and the reason why they have you sitting in front of a dryer is because they already know what's going to happen. If you get up and leave, try to get your keys, you smudged it, even though it's set,
Hmm.
it's not completely cured. So it's
Interesting.
very similar to that.
I guess I never pay too much attention to it, but I am kind of like what you said. Um, I am unintentionally letting my interfacing cure because I usually do all the cutting and the interfacing one day and then I stop for the day and then I start the sewing at least the next day. So technically it's been cured, but
Yeah,
maybe not intentionally by me. It's just my usual habit includes
it's a good
that
sewing
extra
habit.
time.
Like
Yeah.
that's why, and that's probably why you haven't noted. Like if someone else saying, "Hey, I got crinkling from Shapeflex," and you're probably like, "Wait, why? I use it all the time." It's
Oh,
because you're letting it
okay.
cool. Because you're
Interesting.
putting this glue, and this glue it has to connect to this new piece, and they are literally becoming one. So they have to cure.
That makes total sense. I guess the scientific part of it is, yeah, what you just said. Interesting. Okay, so down to weights. What weight of fabric are you using when you're choosing either waterproof or water resistant canvas?
Most of the places that I get my waterproof canvas, they like Fabric Wholesale Direct, they don't have a weight option. Um,
Okay.
but when I went to Fabric Direct, they have two different weights, like a 400 and a 600. And I feel like the 400 feels more like the water resistant and it's a little bit lighter, easier to manipulate and fold in half. The thicker one I usually tend to go to because it adds extra structure to the bag because
Okay.
it's a thicker material. But if I'm making like a wallet or a pouch, water resistance really nice because you can wipe it. Like I said, as long as it doesn't sit in water, you're fine. There's a couple of people on the internet and different groups that I've seen them pour water onto water resistant canvas and one onto waterproof canvas, and they timed it. Like this is what happens
Oh.
after 3 hours, and this is what happens all day. Like waterproof canvas, the water will just sit on it. It will not
Oh,
seep
okay.
through. So I feel like if you purchase something, try these. We always tell people to try a test sandwich to see if your machine can handle this particular project. If you're going to have it and you know it's going to be for you, our family, customer, just test it. See how well this
Hmm.
is, and then therefore you can tell this person accurately. Do you want this? If your bag's in water for X amount of minutes or X amount of hours, it can seep through, or do you want this and nothing's going to touch your bag?
That's really interesting. I really like the idea of testing it just so you know and you can speak exactly to your customers about it.
Definitely, because all waterproof canvas and all water resistant canvas are not made the same. Um, like I mentioned before, I got some from Backstitch, and water was just holding on that for like 3 or 4 hours before it even began to seep. Then I got some from just a regular online store, and the water resistance didn't last 30 minutes. So testing it like a small little square might be beneficial for you as a bag maker before you start the project so you're not like, oh man. Like I'd
It's
rather
not what
know
they
ahead
thought it was
before.
going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens because a lot of things you have to take a lot of things into it. If let's say someone returned their waterproof canvas and there was some kind of defect, like I don't know about you, but I've got Shapeflex 101 that no matter what I try to do to adhere to it, it didn't adhere, and then there was like a recall, like the glue did not work on this one, and you're like,
Oh,
okay, it
interesting.
wasn't me. So it was you just if you could check, you need to check each piece because if it's damaged, then you're doing this all for naught. Like you can say it is, but
Oh.
it may be bad. Like that's the great thing about cotton. You know, you're just getting cotton. Now, different cottons shrink and colors bleed differently, but
Hmm.
that's why you wash it and do all that stuff ahead of time so you know. So it's the
I
same premise.
see.
Just do like a water test. It'll take you won't even notice it. You just walk away and you come back and you're like, oh. Okay.
Oh,
And
so
just
are
make
you you're
sure.
you're generally doing a test before you start each project or just that
I
particular fabric?
general I I generally get like few colors like black, tan, white, and another color. And when I get them, I put them on rolls and I'll cut out like a 2-inch square and I'll
Okay.
put water on them and just walk away and do whatever I'm doing. And if they don't seep through, then they made the test for me. And because when they give you the whole roll of like 5 yards or 10 yards, or there's no, there's nothing going to be inconsistent within
I see.
that batch.
Oh, that's very interesting. Um, so when you were mentioning about the weights, the 400 and the 600, is the 400 what you're usually using for the lining, or it either one you would use for the lining?
I would use either one for the lining, and
Okay.
also depending on what kind of structure, because I feel the structure is really, really important. And but the 400, there is definitely perk. It has a nice crease when you put it into a bag as a lining. Like it's super, it like I don't know, it's really crisp, and I don't know if it's because it's lighter and it has the capability of doing that,
Okay.
but it has a really nice, clean, crisp look inside the linings to me.
Hmm. Okay. Oh, so mistakes. If you make a mistake and you have to rip stitches, is there any problems with that? Do the holes are there just going to be holes there or
When you, it's actually really forgiving, kind of like cork.
okay.
You know how cork is a little bit more forgiving. You're going to see holes, but it's not as visible
Mm-hmm.
to the area. It's not like vinyl where you're like, oh man, I ruined my bag. I ruined my bag. I'm done. I'm done. It's more forgiving. It's a more forgiving, especially if you have to make sure you get all the stitches out and didn't leave any lint or burrs or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, and you can keep on going. It's really forgiving. It's a very stable fabric that's forgiving.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's great to hear. Um, let's see. Someone asked in my call for questions if there's a way to close up the perforations from sewing it to make it continue to be waterproof, or does it just naturally close and it's just after you're done sewing, just the bag is waterproof without you having to do anything extra?
Because of the weft and the weave of it, especially waterproof canvas,
Mhm.
it it just, if you were to rip out stitches and sew it again, you won't get any leaking between the
Okay.
threads at all. At least I haven't yet, but no,
Oh, okay.
I doubt very much.
Um, so you already mentioned your machines that basically you can use different machines to sew with it. Do you think in general even a very inexpensive domestic machine can handle the waterproof canvas?
Yes, I think I know the Rocketeer is built differently than our new current machines, and even my Bernita, I think it was made in, they stopped making it in 1990,
Okay.
but they take it really well, except the slight right
Well, yeah,
with
yeah.
the Rocketeer. But yeah, they take it really well. It's really smooth sailing with it. And I think it's also actually a better option than vinyl, because a lot of people that want to sew bags, they want to use vinyl because of the way it looks and how it's water repellent and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. I would always encourage, hey, get cork. But if you're like, hey, that's not in my budget, water resistant canvas comes in so many different colors, so many different prints, that you can achieve what you want from a vinyl, your waterproof canvas, easily,
Hmm.
because it has built-in structure and it's easy to sew with.
Are there any extra considerations that you need to think about when sewing with it to make it easier, like such as sewing with curves, or would you just treat it like your quilting cottons attached to interfacing? Is it about the same?
Yes and no. See, with the interfacing, if there's curves, especially with you, you always have a really nice fitting gusset. Like I'm not snipping into the gusset to spread it out. I've never
Okay.
had to do that with yours. But with the waterproof canvas, there's zero stretch. There's still a small stretch when you do Shape Flex 101 with cotton. So with this, if the seam allowance, let's say, was 1/4 of an inch, I would make little snips where the curve is going to be like at
Mm-hmm.
1/8 to spread out the bulk. So it's not like trying to bunch in one area.
Okay. That makes total sense to me. And you already kind of touched on washing the bag. In the finished bag, can it be put in the washing machine and the dryer, or would you just do something different? Like if the whole bag, say, got, muddy or dirty, can you put it
I
in the
would put
washer
it
and the
in.
dryer?
I put it in the washer. I wouldn't put it in the dryer
Okay.
because it has plastic, and with the heat, kind of it just I have never done that. I just let it hang dry,
Okay.
or even like I said, the spot cleaning on this is amazing. It'll take you no time to spot remove it, clean it, and then it's like almost instantly dry because it's waterproof.
Okay. Well, I that was my last question. I've learned a ton, and this has also been really enjoyable. Like, just I guess your personality is just like you're
Oh,
just super fun to talk to. So, I really appreciate this so much, and I hope all of you watching have learned something about waterproof canvas and water resistant canvas. Thank you so much, Shanova. And I'm also posting links to Shanova's social media in the description of the show in case you're interested in seeing what she's up to, what she's been making. So please do check that out. Thank you
thank
again.
you so much.
I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Shanova. Thank you again to Shanova for providing us with all that fantastic information. I do have 2 links in the description for 2 of Shanova's favorite resources for waterproof canvas and water resistant canvas. So be sure to check out those links after the show in case you're interested in learning more about those fabrics or perhaps purchasing some to give it a try. And because the interview was so lengthy, we're going to postpone our normal question and answer session until next week. But I felt pretty good about Shanova covering all the nooks and crannies as far as the waterproof canvas goes. All right, so we have a giveaway still to get to. Before that, Danny's favorite part of the Sunday show, we'd like to invite all of the bag makers to stand proud. Let us know in the comments that you're part of the So Sweetness squad. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. So, the winner of last week's giveaway was Jean Kaufman. So congratulations to you, Jean. Please email me after the show. My email is sarah@sosweetness.com. Danny's going to drop that email at the bottom of the screen. And our giveaway prize for tonight is the Marlin backpack pattern and video. If you happen to own that already and you are the winner, we'll just substitute a different pattern and video of your choice. I've got this one made by Amy Hutton from Bed Hog Shop, and I super love she pieced this rainbow fabric on the front of the backpack. Really great fussy cutting over here. Since that pattern and video, and oh, by the way, we're also going to throw in a pack of Soft and Stable as well, my favorite interfacing. Since we're talking about the Marlin backpack, I wanted to share some of your Marlin makes from the Facebook group. So Danny put together this slideshow to enjoy some great photos. Camille made this Peter Pan version. As you can see, it fits either a tall can or a water bottle in those side pockets. Heather made a version with cassette tapes, Guardians of the Galaxy style, with that little Groot over there in the picture. This one, it looked to me like waterproof canvas. Joe made this version, a really great print. Certainly pops. Let's see, Lisa made this one with these really cute bats eating, I think, ice cream or cotton candy, maybe either or. This vinyl version was made by Lori. I just really love it. I mean, the texture of the vinyl, it's really unique and just fantastic. Star Wars, Natalie made this version of the Marlin backpack. It looks like she used elastic at the tops of the pockets, which looks really fantastic. Olivia made this one to hold her pins in the front, so it's got some, I'm assuming it's clear vinyl on the front so you can see all of the pins inside. Sheila made this vinyl version with Fresh Princess fabric. Looks super cute. I love the pink vinyl pockets too. Tanya made a couple Marlin backpacks. Here's one with animals from Australia. And then, let's see, Tina made this one with Rifle Paper Company. This is an Alice in Wonderland print. Love this particular design. Tracy made uh, a Red Bull racing backpack. She took it to the racetrack. Love this picture, Bag in the Wild picture. And then the last one is Vasiliki made this vinyl version with a comic book strip print on the front of the backpack. So lots of inspirational makes on the Marlin backpack. All you have to do to enter the giveaway, it's randomly drawn, is leave a comment on this video. You have until the end of the day to leave a comment wherever you watch, either on Facebook or YouTube. We add all those comments together, and I will announce the winner on next Sunday's show. I have an extra question that you can answer in the comments. Have you ever worked with waterproof canvas before, or would you like to let us know in the comments? And I'll be checking to see what everyone's been doing as far as the waterproof canvas in the comments after the show. Thank you again so much for tuning into the show. Again, the links are in the description, as well as links for Shanova's social media, her Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channel. So please do check those out after the show. I hope you have a great week and happy sewing. Bye, everybody.